This is Saturday the 20th of February 2021. This is a video to mark the 11th birthday of my best friend, GALE 10. He's 11 today, and as you know, he was relocated to Sweden of August 2019, nearly 2 years ago. 2 years in August this year, since he was relocated to Sweden. And as you know, I was heartbroken and devastated the fact that he was relocated. Apparently he wasn't doing so well with the winds, and so his fee went down to 3,000, and he wasn't getting that many runners or many wins that year, and he wasn't doing so well, so they had to sell him and move him abroad. And I was devastated, and I was hoping I would have liked it they had kept him in the country in Ireland, but there were different choices of countries of where they were going to relocate. There was South Africa, and there was America, or there was Australia mentioned, but they eventually decided on Sweden. And so it's going to be cold around this time of year, so I hope he's keeping warm and stuff, because it's a lot of snow in Sweden, so because a lot of snow there and stuff, because Sweden, as you know, is in Scandinavia, and it snows quite a lot in Scandinavia, and I'm really heartbroken the fact that he's over in Sweden and thousands of miles away on the other side of the world. I haven't taken the news very well, and still haven't taken the news very well, and to this day I still haven't gone over the loss of my friend GALE. He's my best friend, and even though he's not in the country, GALE will always remain my best friend. He'll always remain my best friend, even though he's not here in the country. He'll always remain my best friend, no matter what. And we had a very close connection. We had a very close bond. I love GALE with my life. He's very special to me. There was just something special about GALE that was different to any of the other horses that stood. He was just very, very close. He was just very special to me. He just had something about GALE that really moved me and touched me. It's just the way he connected with me. It was just a real spark between the two of us. He was very special. We had a very, very close connection. We had a very close bond, and it was this way he always reacted to me anytime I called his name. He'd pin his ears, and he'd always come over to me. He'd always come over to me and say hello. The second he'd hear my name, he'd hear me call his name. He'd be over to the fence, or he'd run, and sometimes he'd run over to me, he'd gallop over to me, and sometimes a few times he galloped over to me in excitement because he was so happy to see me. And coming towards the end of his time, he'd be at the fence practically nearly every day, because he could sense that I was going to be there, coming to see him nearly more or less every day to see him, because coming near towards the end, because he had a kind of a feeling that I would be there to see him a lot coming near the end of his time, because of our friendship. So he kind of guessed that I'd be in there nearly every day to see him. He'd come and see him a lot more often. So I'd have more time with him because I'm coming at the end of his time with the stud. And I was going in a lot more regularly. And I was spending a lot more time with him than any of the other horses at the stud. I spent a lot of time with the GALE horse coming in towards the end of his time. I'd spend nearly more or less the whole day with him down in by his paddock. Practically nearly the whole day with them, really like more or less half of the day with him, more or less half of the day with the GALE before lunchtime, and then so sometimes I may go around the other paddocks and then I go back to GALE again at the end of the day before I went home. So I'll be with them the whole time, but coming in towards the end of his time was very, very hard. I was practically every day I went in, I was practically crying. I used to be crying the whole time. I'd go into it would be a very, very emotional ride, and the staff were very kind. They even gave me the profile poster that was on his fence. I have it on my living room wall. It's behind the camera, so unfortunately you can't see it. It's behind the camera there. So unfortunately you can't see it. So but they gave it to me gave me the profile poster that was on his fence, and was very, very grateful to them for that. And because they knew how special he was to me, and he always will be very special. This is one of his photographs from his racing days, from the time when he was racing, and so I love him with my life, and I never get over it. And what really hurts more is the fact that I can't contact him. I have no email address for him, or I have no address for him at all. Like, I have no way of contacting him, and I haven't heard a whisper about Gale Force since he left the stud. Not a whisper. It's as if he disappeared off the face of the earth completely. Not a mention of him. Like, not even mention about any of his offspring at the sales, Tattersall Goffs. Nothing. No mention of him at all in any of the races. No mention of his name. As if he just disappeared off the face of the earth. So it's very hard. So I miss him so much. I really miss him so much. So it's I'm lost without Gale Force, but I've turned over to now next to Free Eagle. Now Free Eagle is a close attachment to Free Eagle, so I've been going to Free Eagle since Gale Force left. I've had a close attachment to Free Eagle too, so Free Eagle is going to have to be my friend now that Gale Force is gone. So I had a very close attachment to Free Eagle. So at least I have another horse who I can turn to. That Gale Force is gone, but Gale Force will always be my best friend, no matter what. Whenever horse is there, he'll always be my best friend. And so his stall now is being taken over by a brand new stallion, Ekiano. We have a brand new stallion stall now called Ekiano, and he's now taken over Gale Force's old stall now. So I'm quite happy that somebody's going to take good care of it out for me, and look after the stall for me. And what a better horse to look after it for me than the new stallion, Ekiano. So very grateful, very, very privileged to have the new stallion look after it for me. So I'm glad it's him. If there's any horse, if there's any horse that's to move into the Gale Force's whole stall, like that, it's him. So but he's 11 today, and I'm the only one. I'm probably the only one that ever thinks about him or sends messages about Gale Force. I don't hear anyone else. I don't see any other messages from anyone else. Nobody else sends messages about Gale Force. I don't see any pictures of him on Twitter. Not a whisper. Like, you get other birthday messages about other horses, but nothing about Gale Force. Not a whisper about Gale Force. Not even the Irish National Stud. He stood at the Irish National Stud like over 5 years or so. Since 2014, and not even the Irish National Stud would wish him happy birthday. They never wished him a happy birthday at all. Like, the Irish National Stud, he was in the Irish National Stud for 5 years, over 5 years, and they never even wished him a happy birthday. As if they turned their back on him or something. Like, he served in the Irish National Stud. He stood there for 5 years, and the Irish National Stud, they're literally as if they practically turned their back on him. So, even though he's not there anymore, it doesn't mean they have to ignore him or not bother, not wish him happy birthday. They don't bother not wishing him happy birthday because he's not there anymore. He was a big part of that stud for over 5 years. He was part of that stud. So because he's not there, it doesn't mean you don't wish him happy birthday. Because he was part of that stud. Like, he was part of that family for over 5 years. So they should at least think about him on his birthday, and I was quite upset the fact they didn't. So that's the only one that really sent a birthday message to Gale Force, and I'm really heartbroken that I'm not there, that he's not here to, so I can visit him and make an appointment to go and visit him so I can give him cards. And the last birthday I shared with him was in 2019. That was the last birthday I shared with him, was in 2019 when he was 9. In February 2019, that was the last birthday I shared with him when he was 9. And that's the last time I saw him, was 2019. they announced on the 16th of July 2019 that they were relocating him, that he was leaving the stud. 16th of July. And I was hoping that I was hoping that they wouldn't take him out of the stud. I was expecting them to I was expecting him to stay for at least a few months, at least a few months, maybe towards the end of the year, maybe before closing, before the winter months, They were saying the winter months. First they were saying the winter months, said he's leaving in the winter months. That's what they said at the beginning. And then just less than a month after we were told, the 16th of July, just less than a month after we were told, he was gone. My last communication with Gale Force was on 13th of August 2019. That's my last storm. And we were going to go in the 16th, which was a Friday. The 13th, I think, was a Tuesday. I went in with them. I think Liam's mum was with us, and I think Shabby was with us as well. Shabby, Liam's cousin, I think. And Shabby took a liking to Gale Force. He met him 4 times or something, and he was very fond of Gale Force. He liked him, so he did. So he's actually glad that he met him. But we were going to go in the Friday, the 16th, and then we decided to go to the Curragh, to go to the races. We were halfway down. We were nearly halfway to the Curragh. Nearly halfway down to the Curragh, and then it started to last rain. So we decided to turn back towards back home. We came back home. We were going to watch the races. Dragon Pulse's son was in the race. Was racing that day, and so we decided to watch the races back home here on the telly. So if we had gone in on the Friday the 16th, I would have got my goodbye with Gale Force. I would have had one last chance to see Gale Force before he left, because he left the following day, the 17th of August, the Saturday. We went in on the Saturday. He had been moved over to Invincibles a few weeks previous before he was relocated. I think it was early August or late July, early August. Mid-July, early August, he was moved over to Invincible's side of the paddocks. He's over that paddock beside Freegal's old paddock, where they have Phoenix of Spain now, where he's moved, where he was last year. He was there last year. I'm not too sure where he is now, but Phoenix of Spain was in Freegal's old paddock, and Gale Force was in that paddock next to him, that big huge paddock at the time. And we went up to that paddock where Gale Force was. We saw the poster. His poster was still there. And we went up to look out for him. There's no sign of him. And we rang up the reception. And I think I got through to Caroline. And I got through to Caroline. And sorry, back in a second, please. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry about that. Excuse me, sorry about the interruption there. We got through to Caroline, and she didn't know what the story was. She had no idea. She said, "Oh, he probably gone for. He's probably gone to. They're probably exercising him, or probably he's getting his shoes checked, or he's probably going for exercise or something, or getting him ready, or I don't know." And I was asking, "Do you know when he's going?" And she said, "The next few days, next 2-3 days." And so something along those lines. We're getting 3 different stories or something like that. So I went down to the reception. I told Dean I'd meet him at the Stallion Stables with the seats. And so I went down and met up with one of the students, and he came back with me down to the stables. He's going to go for his lunch. He was going to go for his lunch. And he came down with me and he said to us, I think he said he's going for a checkup, or he's going to get a few tests or something like that. And we weren't really getting any straight answers of what was happening. And then it wasn't only later on that Caroline told us that it was last minute, and it was very unexpected. It was very unexpected and very last minute. He went off early that morning. Around 7:30 after breakfast. He went off early that morning and went up to Newmarket, quarantine he went up to quarantine for 3 weeks in Newmarket before he was flown up to Sweden. So he was up to Newmarket. He went early that morning, Saturday morning. That's where he was off. He went off that day, the 17th. So that's where he was. He's gone. So I missed him. So if I had gone in on the Friday the 16th, I would have got my goodbye with him. So to this day, I'm still heartbroken. But you can see yourself, I'm literally falling apart here. I don't think I'll ever get over it. I'll never get over the loss of my best friend, I'm grieving for a horse that's not even dead. But he might as well be dead, because I never hear about him anymore. I don't ever hear his name mentioned in nothing. I never see his name. I've never seen his name since he left the stud. Not a mention of, not a whisper of Gale Force since he left the stud. Not one whisper. Not a whisper since he left the stud. Not a whisper. As if he never existed in the first place. And so the only thing I have of Gale Force is videos and photographs. That's the only thing I have of Gale Force now is videos and photographs. That's the only way I could be close to Gale Force is watching him on video. That's all. That's the only way I could be close to him is watching him on videos, or looking at him in photographs. So it's another one of them here. It's taken in the same race, I think. It's the same race, I think. It's the last shot that we saw. We have a mixture of photographs in this. I have no idea how they got in it. Mixture of other horses in this. It's another one here. I happen to like this shot actually. It's actually quite a nice one of them. It's actually quite a nice photograph of Gale Force. It's a nice pose. You can see the athleticism in. You can see him. You can see that he's a real athlete. You can see his back. He has a very short back. You can see he's a short back. When horses that have short backs, it means that they're very good for sprinting. It means that they're very good for. It makes them very good sprinters. So Gale Force he's a very good sprinter. And he didn't do that many furlongs. He only did 6 to 7 furlongs in his races. And he's more sprinter than that because he's a short back. He's like Bowie. He's got a short back as well. So the horses with short backs and makes them very good sprinters. So he only did 6 to 7 furlongs in his racing career, and he won and he won 3 races, 3 to 5 years, and 7 furlongs. That was his record. So yeah, so, I think it was not last year. I think before the races finished. I think the races before the lockdowns. I think last year we were at the races. I saw 1 or 2 of his sons in the racing brochure, race book, with 2 of his sons, Wicklow Gale and some other horse. And they were underneath each other, number 9 and number 10. You know, might know on both sons, like that. No, one not like close together. Those number 9, number 10. You know, the last two numbers, 9 and 10. They're both sons of Gale horse, Wicklow Gale and some other one, and I think Wicklow Gale came 3rd or something in the race. So I got shocked when I saw that Gale horse's name in the book. I'm not too sure it was last year. I think it was the year before last. I think it was the year that he left the Stoke. We were in, I think it was Nace. We went to Nace Racecourse, and Gale horses, 2 of Gale horses' sons were racing. And I saw it was Liam that actually showed me his name in the book, and I nearly practically broke down in tears with joy, happiness, you know. It was the first time I saw his name since we left the stud, and that's probably the only time I saw his name after we left the stud, was in that racing book, and then after that I haven't seen his name ever since. So the only time I saw his name was in that racing book, but I haven't seen his name ever since that time with the race.